Alright, this is my first redention. I had this size pretty good. I had my model stuck down inside the block of wood, so that was my first cut. It took me 2 hours of messing with that one. Then I cut this out, and it was just really good. I was really pleased about it, but it was only 3/4 of an inch, and I needed 1 inch, so it was a tad small. And then these little tenons were a little bit small. So I was thinking, okay. But I had it about right in the middle as far as tweaking it. So that was a little small. So then I went and I heightened it up, but I didn't widen it up. So I made the model depth 1 inch. This is 3/4. This is 1 inch. And so if I would have widened it up, I probably would have been better off. And I was milling that from both edges, but they're little oblongs, so they're kind of a funky deal there. So that was another 2 hours. So right there was 6 hours messing with it. Then I got to step number 4, and step number 4 was pretty good. I had the size about down right, and then I glued them together. And this is what I had was this right here, and I glued them together. If I would have thought to do the outline with the bit, I would have been all right, but still my tenons were just a little bit small. So when I glued them together, I didn't quite have the thickness that I needed. I mean, it was close, but I mean, it wasn't close enough for me. So anyway, so that was going on to that one. Then I glued another one up, and I had my ball about a 1 inch, and then that at that point I was thinking, this is problematic trying to glue these things back together, getting them lined up. And I was like going, I don't know. And so I made the ball a little bit wider, and of course it went oblong. And, that was another 2 hours. This is another 1 hour for just one. And so there kind of went on to that shape. So that's kind of wild looking. And then I said, okay, well, let's make them out of some 1 inch thick. But I should have thinned this up a little bit. This was looking better, but it wasn't still really what I wanted to do. And I was a little disappointed that it was rough. And I was trying to figure out, okay, how do I want to do this? So anyway, but I was thinking I do need to stay with the ball nose cutting it all out. So then I moved on to that one. That was another couple hours. So in this one, I cut this one out. It was half. Made it a little bit thicker. Left my tendons in, but they were still too small. But I had my ball about right. And then I looked at this one, and my tendons were too short at the end. And it totally wiped them out. So I did it again, but this model was down into the model again. And so that was, another 2 hours. So, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 21. Then I got out to this point here. And this is really what I ended up doing, was milling out these. And I was getting 3 of them, in here, full size. And I took these out and I basically just sanded them. Now this one I didn't keep this one because it was milling too fast. So what I did is I ended up modeling this to the right size and the right deal, and I had my thickness a little thicker. But anyway, so the bottom line is that I was cutting out my outline. After I modeled this, and I came up with an outline around my model, and then I offset that about a 0.05, and then I told it to cut on a vector. Well, it cleaned up the side pretty close. I could have went a little bit closer, but it cleaned it up pretty close. And then I was cutting it too fast, and that's when it was tearing this out. So then I slowed down my 1/8 inch end mill that was going up and down here and around the edges, and slowed that down. And so then the chipping went away. But even just lining it up, just being a hair off, I would get a little difference in some of the cuts. So, and then after I was done with all that, I took the thing and brought it over here to the sander and put it on the 1-inch sander, and of course, the bandsaw, I cut these off, square, so they were about 3/8, and then took it to the sander. And then I started rounding it, putting it in a drill and rounded it, and got it to shape up pretty good. And then the last thing I did was put it on here and give it a final sanding. So they came out, of course, a lot better than this one, but they weren't of this caliber that I got on my second one. I was thinking, man, I about nailed that. If I'd have just had the size just a little bit bigger, and so, and out of a 1-inch block of wood, but this was Johnny on the spot money. If I'd have just modeled this and just took a 1/8 inch end mill, went around here and cut these little boogers off of there, and it would have done great, because as far as minimal sanding, but it really did a good job on that. But anyway, I went out on the internet looking for ability to buy them. I looked at a bunch of stuff. I looked for an hour and a half, and they have different variations, but nothing exact like this. This design came from about 110-year-old house, and so it's these go up in the gable ends. They're kind of a design. So anyway, I was really excited when I started, and then I just got a little bummed. Changing a little bit of this is very precision. It's very I was doing 3 at a time, which was more time consuming than the 1 at a time, but I didn't like doing the 1 at a time because I could get something spoofy and I wouldn't get a good model, so I went with the average of 3, but I ended up starting to do just the 1 model at a time, then flip it and do the other model, just so that I wouldn't spend the time on the carve, because these take like 22 minutes per side, 44 minutes, and 3 of them together is a little bit less time, but 2 hours. And then the end mill that went around and cut them out, that took about 12 minutes. So anyway, that was my experiment with this, and yeah, so there you go. Just a little bit of a change. They go from oblong to being whatever, and so that was kind of fun and unique, and yet I was able to get her done. So I gave 12 of them to my son-in-law, and he was tickled to get them.